It's time to glaze. What's up, guys? I'm here, and we're going to do a breakdown / live reaction and review of Broken Ronins, Toji and Maki versus every special grade sorcerer. And y'all know I'm a certain type of individual. I'm something of a Maki and Toji glazer myself, you know. So I'm very interested to see how a Broken Ronin tackles this topic. I saw this pop up in my sub box and I was like, we're gonna wait on it. I need to see Maki run some hands with Sukuna before I put my opinion on this. And as you know, Maki has run some hands with Sukuna, so I'm starting to put my opinion on this. I'm so excited. I can feel it in my toes right now. They're low-key curling. This is going to be my first Broken Ronin video too, I do believe. And he has a bunch more of these that I need to react to. Percy Jackson versus Jujutsu Kaisen. My toes are curling right now. But regardless, we have a very, very specific topic to discuss. So let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. Editing me, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
In the vast
Psych! What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do happen to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact, let me give you just a quick rundown, a quick thought process. Now, notably, I don't know how he's doing this video. The thumbnail had Toji and Maki both jumping Gojo, and let me tell you this right now, they both lose anyway. But with that being the case, let me give a quick rundown on all my thoughts on the matchups between Toji and Maki, I'm presuming it's both of them at the same time, versus every single special grade sorcerer. Here's the thing about Toji and Maki as a duo. They have no combat experience fighting together. However, they also wouldn't get in the way of each other. In a similar way that, like, well, actually, in the exact opposite way, that someone like Gojo wouldn't actually fight that well with other people because of the massive scale of his attacks and the fact that he does not have the ability to turn friendly fire off. Toji would kind of... Toji plus Gojo fusion? That'd actually probably be very, very inefficient. But Toji and Gojo wouldn't work well together. Gojo and Geto wouldn't work very well together. Gojo and Yuki wouldn't work very well together because Gojo has massive splash damage attacks. But Maki and Toji in particular, outside of the chain of 1,000 miles and any nonsense that would come with that, they wouldn't really get in each other's way. So, like, them jumping, despite having no combat experience together, it's devious. It's diabolical. And considering, at the time of this, 1 month ago, Brain Blast, yeah, this would have covered pretty much everything except for the recent Maki feats in the past 2 chapters that have come out. Like, I think this probably even predates the... I'm assuming the most recent chapter at the time of the release of this video was 251, but assuming the difference of production time between Broken Ronin's videos and their actual release date, probably, I'd have to take a guess, probably the time this was produced was around, like, maybe the 245s, mid 245s, or like late 240s, if I had to take a guess. So none of those feats are taken into account. But on a matchup scale, with this team as a duo, I think they wash every special grade sorcerer except for Gojo. I know that sounds crazy. But let me explain myself real quick. Let me tackle who just now, at this point, is definitively the weakest special grade. For the most part, I think we can all agree that Suguru Geto is the weakest, without any confirmation of his access to domain and stuff like that. And while his maximum technique is cool and all, it's not doing anything to Maki or Toji. He has nothing to imply stat-wise that he ever surpassed Toji, even Toji Fushiguro, not to talk about Toji Zenin. And Maki and Toji are both equal. Toji Zenin, the prime Toji, who's stronger than the Toji that watched Teen Geto, and I don't think a Goat Geto ever surpassed them. So stat-wise, they kind of just stat check Geto and get him up out of here, whether it be with Soul Split, in the case of Maki, who would legit just tear through all Geto's curses and one-tap him, because it's not even confirmed if he has RCT. I've seen some people, like, recently theorizing that based on a statement Geto makes about Yuta using reverse curse technique in JJK, that Geto may have had reverse curse technique, but notably, even if he does not have soul perception. There's nothing to imply that he does. You can make weird arguments for Yuta, which I'll talk about in a second, for him having soul perception, but at least for Geto, no. So one hit from Soul Split from Maki, and that boy's done. The curses aren't going to help. We already saw how the curse matchup goes, and Toji would actually probably use the curses to Geto's disadvantage as he blitzes past all of those random fodder and bisects Geto. And Maki's also there too, doing the exact same thing. So Geto, absolutely washed. Same thing with Yuki. Unfortunately, like, we kind of just got to put Yuki at number 3, but Still, the second weakest special grade sorcerer is still extremely powerful. I can definitely see arguments for her being in the top 10, but once again, just due to her genuine lack of scaling, there's just nothing we can do for her. Like, her best scaling is landing one clean hit on Kenjaku, who should have the same stats as adult Geto. Because Kenjaku has stated himself, and it's noted by Kanshimo in that flashback, that Kenjaku's body varies in potency. He cannot exercise superior potential to the body that he's taken over, so Kenjaku just has adult Geto stats. And once again, like I said, adult Geto has nothing to imply that he surpassed Toji or Maki, who are faster than the projection sorcerers like Nabito. And Nabito was still the second fastest sorcerer forever. So, like, it's just not the case for Yuki either, who would get perception blitz and slashed. And she also doesn't have soul perception, so RCT wouldn't work. And the moment she gets slashed once, we already saw Bombay will drop infinitely in potency, and she's cooked. She could try to black hole no diff them, but then like Toji pulls out in Red Spear Heaven, pokes the black hole stops. And besides, black hole doesn't necessarily count as a win con, it's just a double KO. So I don't really see too much there. The hardest one is Yuta, mainly because Yuta is the only special grade on the entire list bringing a 2v2 to a 2v2. But ultimately, without Yuta having confirmed soul perception, if he starts in base, he gets washed. I don't think I need to convince you of that. Full power Yuta, there's the interest of cursed speech and how the Heavenly Restriction users would interact with it. Both would know about it. Toji would recognize the markings. If he knows about the Gojo clan, he's going to know about the Inumaki clan. And Maki knows Inumaki and knows Yuta. Kalechi Willikers. But Maki knows Yuta and Inumaki and would also recognize the seals. And both have precog. Recently confirmed precog that's even able to react to and perceive world slashes. So, like, cursed speech is not hitting them. But if Yuta just stands in cursed speech and keeps sending Rika after them, then maybe they could do something, considering they shouldn't have resistance to cursed speech other than covering their ears. And then if they cover their ears, they won't be able to defend themselves. But that's the most interesting matchup in my opinion. I still think Yuta loses if he's fighting both of them, though. Because all it takes is for him to get caught lacking once and not be using cursed speech once. Because his domain is useless, Rika would never be able to tag them, and Yuta himself would probably struggle to tag either of them. And every single hit they land on Yuta is very likely permanent. Same thing with Rika, who also doesn't have soul perception. So SSK would just... and then she's down a hand. And then another hand. And then a body. So, like, I don't know. I think they clear. And once again, once you get to Gojo, Unlimited Hollow, they're both gone. Reds, they're both hit. Tag destroyed. Blues, probably. Like, Gojo washes them still. There's nothing... As much as a Toji and Maki glazer as I am, I cannot sit here and tell you that they end up beating Gojo. No, I can't, unfortunately. As much as a Maki and Toji meat muncher that I am, I cannot lie to you like that. But those are my thoughts on the matchups. Tell me your thoughts on the matchups down below. And speaking of below, if you couldn't tell, considering how much I'm yapping, even though I'm literally 0 seconds into the video, we're gonna be here for a minute. If you want to check out the original video, it'll be linked in the description down below, along with a link to Broken Rona's channel. Fantastic content creator. Let me like the video right now. Fantastic content creator, high quality productions, great videos on JJK. He does Blue Lock content. He made a video on Kagurabachi. Like, he does anime in general. A heavy focus on JJK, so if you like JJK, go find Broken Ronin. But you know who Broken Ronin is. Let's not waste any more time. Let's actually hop into the video itself.
World of Jujutsu Kaisen. Very few characters match the level of physical might that is gained with a completed heavenly restriction. Disaster class cursed spirits.
One thing I do want to say, because people are going to be like, well, actually, Kokichi Muda had a heavenly restriction. Their type of heavenly restriction. The zero curse energy heavenly restriction. That's it. We know there are multiple types. Those are the only two with heavenly restrictions very specifically built to remove cursed energy and give them bodies of steel. Alright? Alright? I've made that mistake on other platforms. I just called it heavenly restriction, and then I got actually. So I'm going to actually right now, so that doesn't happen. But let's see. It'll probably still happen. Let's see.
Sorcerers with the most broken curse techniques in the entire series, and even the King of Curses himself, have all been forced to pay respect to the power that characters like these wield. And in this video, I wanted to see how far we could push the envelope. While in the anime, Toji's limitations have been made rather clear, we haven't seen how dangerous he could be if paired with another character built exactly like him. So,
okay. Yeah. Every special grade is cooked. I thought maybe I'd hypothetically misinterpreted it, and he was just using Toji and Maki as in to cover both heavenly restriction users. Because the only difference they really have, considering they're stated equals, is Toji has extra tools, which make him a better matchup check most of the time. If you presume Toji's Zenin also still had the Inverted Spear of Heaven and all the regular tools and stuff like that. but actually both of them jumping the special grades, it's a massacre. But let's see.
In this video, I'll be pairing Maki and Toji together as the Heavenly Restriction duo and putting them through the Special Grade Sorcerer Gauntlet to really test their limits. How they fare against these special grades and why will be answered in this video, so grab a seat as we dive into Toji and Maki versus every Special Grade Sorcerer. Starting this list off as light as possible, we have the sorcerer who has faced Toji before in the past, Suguru Geto. Now when it comes to Geto's scaling, I actually think that he's slightly underrated by the community because of his rather short stay as an antagonist in Volume 0, but the little that we do get from him is pretty impressive. Not only is he shown to be capable of handling 2v1 situations with proficiency when dealing with both Yuta and Rika, but he's actually shown to have an advantage against Okkotsu for a majority of the fight, only really showing signs of struggle after Yuta lands a Black Flash and decides to sacrifice his life and bond with Rika for victory. Yuta's physical abilities at this point are rather ambiguous, but Geto being able to keep up with and block the attacks of Rika at this point is very impressive considering how powerful she is gassed up to be. Later in the manga,
And notably, I'll admit, even I downplay Geto a bit from this. If you assume Rika's uniform, or even worse, if you assume Rika is weaker than she was now, or was in 0 to as she is now, considering she's just a husk, Geto being able to block her strikes with Playful Cloud means he could very likely eat some hits and block strikes from Ryu Ishigori, the hardest hitting sorcerer in the series, outside of those with special exceptions like Satoru Gojo, like Ryomen Sukuna, like Yuki Tsukumo. Because, like, remember, Rika's able to knock around Ryu. They're able to exchange blows, essentially. They're relative in terms of their output and durability. So, yeah, Geto does have really, really solid strength, even if only in retrospect. Because, like you mentioned, Rika and Yuta's strength in 0 is really ambiguous, because we just don't necessarily have any concrete scaling for it. Because Yuta's an unknown, and Geto's a relative unknown. Both in the grand scheme of things, because at the time they didn't have much scaling to anywhere else in the verse, because they were the verse, essentially. But now, in retrospect, Geto does get buffs, at least in terms of his ability to block and presumably output. Though the thing is, he doesn't really harm Rika, he only blocks her strikes. And another thing is, while Geto has shown proficiency to deal with 2v1 scenarios, that was with a super inexperienced Yuta and Rika, who had the mind of a child and was essentially flailing about. That is infinitely different than Maki and Toji. Bing, 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 bing. Like going in for some smoke. But I think he's about to get into that. If I had to guess. If I had to hazard a guess. But let's see.
See that she's capable of restraining Yuji while partially manifested, and even palming Granite Blast from Ishigori when assisting Yuta in combat. This version of Rika is inferior in both cursed energy amounts and soul potency when compared to the version fought by Geto, so it's very fair to assume that she's overall a weaker cursed spirit with less to offer in battle physically. He also just shares all of Kenjaku's scaling due to them possessing the same base physical vessel and cursed.
This is going to come back and haunt Yuki, though, depending on his verdict. Depending on how he thinks Kenjaku ends up, well, no, how he thinks Geto ends up scaling in terms of speed and striking strength and durability. Well, durability doesn't matter, soul split. But, like, depending on how he interprets that, it will indirectly, not even indirectly, it'll just directly end up haunting Yuki. Because Yuki's only scaling is to Kenjaku, who is basically Geto stat-wise. So if he gives Toji and Maki the edge in speed, which I think is the most reasonable thing to do based on the scaling chains established, aka every other sorcerer except for Gojo slower than the projection sorcerers, Maki and Toji, an incomplete Maki Toji is able to deal with projection sorcerers at their top speed and perceive them. And a complete Maki Toji is able to drastically exceed complete projection sorcerers and even walk on air in the case of Maki, who does that against Naoya, who's drastically superior to both him and his father, who were already seemingly drastically superior to every other sorcerer in terms of overall speed. Geto should fall somewhere beneath that. And then by proxy, Yuki will fall somewhere beneath that. And by proxy, Yuta will fall somewhere beneath that in the speed department. So it ain't gonna look good because of the speed plus Durneg matchup. Durneg now confirmed, I'm not sure if he's gonna say anything on the soul topic, but Durneg plus speed amp plus no healing. It's like the worst triple combo you can get. If you're out, I said this in a video recently on the other platform, on that guy, the TikTok, where I had mentioned Tochi's just kind of a stat check. Are you fast? okay, you can probably beat Toji. As long as you're able to damage him, obviously. Because if you can't, if Toji can outspeed you, he will Duraneg you. Turn off your ability to regenerate if you have that, and slice you apart. It seems like a lot of the special grades, at least based on their current speed scaling, fail that stat check. Even like current Yuta should hypothetically fail that stat check because of the difference between his reactions to dismantles and cleaves and Maki's reactions to dismantles and cleaves. The Sukuna is weaker, but it seems like the common community consensus is that it doesn't matter how weak the output gets, it's all about the speed being uniform. So Maki, who never gets tagged by dismantle, either reflecting them, dodging them, or knocking them away, versus Yuta, who dodged one cleave and then got hit by literally everything else. And then there's two Makis, one of which who can turn off Yuta's techniques. Don't talk about it, but let's say
energy, as observed by Gojo, and nothing in the story has contradicted this idea yet. Kenjaku is shown to be able to absolutely trounce Choso and piercing blood in every regard, meaning that Geto should be able to perform these feats at least on a similar level as well. Relativity to Yuki in speed and reaction time is also given Geto by the way of Kenjaku's scaling, so all in all, it seems that Geto is no slouch in close quarters. Kenjaku also states that Yuta would have been smoked back in Volume 0 if Geto hadn't split his forces, and if you take this statement with any level of seriousness, it only adds to Geto's scaling and reinforces his validity as an opponent. On top of all of this bodily power, in his prime, Geto was able to summon up to 6,000 cursed spirits to wield at his discretion, so he certainly won't be outnumbered by the likes of these two invisible people. Suguru is certainly impressive, but even individually, Toji and Maki have consistent scaling that shows that they'd be above him in general physicality. Due to being able to wipe out the Zenin clan at any moment they chose, Toji and Maki must at least be relative to Naobito in speed. Naobito is stated to
there it is. That's the big thing. That's the big thing. I say this before. I'd say overall, if you want to take, well, maybe not cross-verse for someone like Geto, but if we're talking about overall power rankings, I can understand putting Yuta above. Heck, in a ways, I can understand putting Kenjaku above, even Geto above, because Kenjaku and Geto are technically equals physically, just Kenjaku has better mastery, RCT in a domain. I can understand putting them above Toji and Maki. But because of that speed gap, and because of what they have at their disposal, the matchups just get rough. Essentially, I said it before, I'll say it again, it's a stat check. If you are not faster than Naobito, which no other sorcerer except for Satoru Gojo is stated to be, then you lose. Because remember, Naobito is the limit. Cursed Naoya drastically exceeds that limit. Ryomen Sukuna drastically exceeds that limit. And Maki and Toji are both able to do something. Of course, they aren't necessarily as fast, so based on how it's explained in the Sakurajima colony. But their ability to deal with people who are drastically faster than them, and their physicals allowing them to maneuver and outmaneuver those, it essentially means if you are slower than Cursed Naoya, which presumably everyone in the verse except for Sukuna and Gojo are, then Maki and Toji will be able to easily react to you. And outdo you in every way, shape, and or form. Although, not to talk it together. So yeah. Let's see where he goes down this chain, though, because this chain is important for the rest of the video. Once again, it depends on how you interpret the Yuta statement, though. If you think Yuta's strength, if you go with the sometimes translation of only second to Satoru Gojo in, I believe it's like literally raw power, then if you assume that folds speed into that, even though speed has been noted as a separate category to power in JJK, then you could maybe get a little bit chaotic. But then the question is, how much does that transcendence go above Naobito? Does it reach Cursed Naoya tiers? That's the question. And even with that, there's two of them. So let's see.
Second only to Gojo when using projection sorcery, and obviously that means that characters like Geto would be below that. Even if you wanted to say that this only applies to characters who would currently be alive in the story, the fact that this is made clear by the narrator when Kenjaku and Yuki are alive within the context of Jujutsu Kaisen demonstrates that Geto wouldn't be an exception to this statement at all. Later in the manga, Maki goes on to absolutely decimate Cursed Naoya, who is implied to have maximized the potential for projection sorcery and as such surpassed Naobito. With precognition confident in her own physical strength and speed, Maki is able to avoid just about every attack he tries and beats him with ease. And with Geto having to face not one, but two characters of this caliber, let's just say he won't have a good time if he allows them to get close. This fact leaves him with only one option: zone the hell out of them with cursed spirits. And honestly, this strategy would work for a little bit, if only because of the sheer amount of bodies that he'd be able to throw at them. However, Toji and Maki would have very little trouble working their way through the curses in large chunks, at least if given enough time. Both of them wield a blade that allows for the cleaving of anything and anyone regardless of its durability, and Toji has the inverted spear plus chain of 1,000 miles to mow through the crowd at a distance as well. Pair all of that with their ability to simply...
Oh, maybe he's gonna say this, but I'm gonna say it first. Even though he said it like literally a month ago. The curses don't actually matter, because Geto would need to release the curses in time. Say Maki and Toji start 5 meters away from Geto. By the time he summons 50 curses, they're already down his throat and sliced him in half. And like you mentioned with Soul Split Katana, the curses don't actually matter, because 1, they're never going to tag Maki or Toji, and 2, they don't need to be stopped. We literally see Maki at the start of Sakura-jima, before she awakens, tear through an entire army of curses. Easily. Not to talk of when she's completed and actually has a specific objective that she's charging for. If anything, they may just like straight up disappear. Remember how Naobito did Dagon, and Dagon was like, where the heck? And then Naobito punched him in the face? They would probably do the exact same thing to Geto, except the punch in the face would be a slice to the neck.
Disappear from the battlefield at a moment's notice, and it's only a matter of time until Geto gets caught by an attack that he simply doesn't have the ability to defend against. Durability wise, Toji and Maki can also take quite a few hits if they mess up as well. Toji's shown the ability to defend against things as strong as Red if he reacts in time with the inverted spear, and Maki has shown us that she can straight up eat a punch from Sukuna, albeit a vaguely weakened one, so I honestly wouldn't say that either character is at risk of death when fighting against someone who's unlikely to land more than a few lucky hits. Suguru Geto would push them to mid difficulty for sure, if only because of how many cursed spirits he'd be able to throw at them at once. But
that's interesting. We're already at mid diff with Geto, the weakest special grade. Okay, that's interesting. I'd say low diff. I'd say straight up. I don't think much of the matchup changes, except maybe some more cursed spirit spam, but I don't think they'd ever get tagged by any of Geto's cursed spirits or Geto himself. The speed gap's too large. And depending on starting distance, they just immediately blitz him. That's how bad the speed gap is. Once again, these chain goes something like this. He mentioned it, and I'll run through it again. Just in terms of numbers. It goes everybody else. Naobito. Now he is somewhere between everybody else and Naobito. Then Curse Naoya. Base. Actually, no. It goes incomplete Maki Toji in terms of like combat / reaction speed. Kind of being relative to Naoya around here. Then by the time you get that, you get Curse Naoya, then Evolved Curse Naoya, then you get Maki and Toji. Remember, the gap between Naobito and everyone else is established to be quite chunky, to the point where it's definitive that he's a special second fastest sorcerer. There's not, like, contention about this. He's just known as that. It's a fact. So for Maki and Toji to have such a definitive speed advantage with their precog over Curse Naoya, who's drastically faster than his father, I smell a low diff, but I can understand why you say mid diff. Once again, Geto has been pretty disrespected, including by me. I will not stop.
At the end of the day, Toji and Maki would have this in the bag. Yuki Tsukumo is next up on the list. Unfortunately, only...
Here's the thing. I'm about to cover this before he does. I kind of glaze over quickly. She has an even worse matchup than Geto, if you think about it. Because with her best scaling being relativity to a Geto equivalent physically, like maybe slightly scaling above, kind of sort of when she caught him off guard, she still would be slower than Naobito. And unlike Geto, who can kind of flood the battlefield with nonsense if you think he reacts quick enough, she can't flood the battlefield with nothing. What you gonna do, flood with Garuda? What, do you think she's gonna punch the ground and be able to do something? No. You see what happened when they did that to Maki? When Suguna did that to Maki, destroyed the entire area? She ate one hit and then kept moving. And the thing is, I don't think I need to convince you that Yuki Tsukumo is slower than 15-finger physical movements are fine Suguna. I don't think I need to convince you of that. If I do, I won't. Because I don't think I can. But with that being the case, She isn't. All right, gosh, don't do this to me. Don't make me explain that. But with that being the case, without the ability to flood the battlefield with nonsense, her being an exclusively close range fighter, and her being actually, she may have soul perception. So maybe she could heal, but all it takes is one bisection. Her healing's not that good. Maki just needs to go for the neck while Toji goes for the stomach. Both will likely do that instinctively. Let's just go for the heart. Do something. Remember, even Sukuna, well, admittedly, his output's very, very low. So that's it. Yuki may have soul perception, so she may be able to heal some hits of soul split, but like, she's not healing like 4 hits. If she loses her arm, she's cooked. Loses her leg, she's cooked. Loses her torso, she's cooked. Loses her head, she's cooked. And she's gonna be cooked because her scaling is kind of trash. I mean, it's not trash. It's still enough to have her like easily in top 10, lowest top 15 in the verse, but like, it's not good enough speed-wise to deal with Maki and Toji.
Meeting the specimen that she once wanted to study through the field of battle. Now, unlike Geto, we don't really have to bother scaling Yuki's speed in depth because she's just relative to him in that department based on the Kenjaku line of scaling. In terms of raw striking strength though, there is quite the disparity between Yuki, Geto, and basically everyone else on this list barring Gojo and Sukuna. While the upper limits of her physical strength are kind of ambiguous.
Oh, we're talking Sukuna? I realized we were talking Sukuna too. Sukuna watches them as well. One domain, done. All right,
to us, she has shown that she can tear off both of Kenjaku's arms with a single punch and one-shot a special grade curse with Garuda, so it's safe to say that she hits like a freight train, even when talking about Toji and Maki as the opponent. Now, while Garuda doesn't have enough AP feats to really let us know if they can one-shot Toji and Maki in the same way it does the Ganesha curse, it's pretty fair to say that Yuki landing a clean blow on either one of them means death or at the bare minimum limb loss, at least if Yuki's at full strength. See, Yuki's kind of interesting when it comes to her potency with Star Rage, because it seems like even one use of RCT or extensive damage in general makes her attacking power pitiful in comparison to her prime. Even after fully healing her body, Kenjaku is able to shrug off a couple of attacks hitting him in the face, starkly contrasting the monstrous power that she demonstrated before. I bring this fact up because honestly, Yuki isn't landing a hit on Toji and Maki without taking quite a bit of damage herself.
That's what I'm talking about, Broken Rule. That's what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. We're getting a little bit too hyped. Let me let him cook. I'm sorry. I'm feeding. Man, here's the thing. The main reason I'm so like itching and scratching and feeding, so many people say Yuki beats Toji and or Maki individually, and I don't see how. Like, what scaling? Oh, but she's special grade. Okay, so is Geto. You want to tell me Geto beats them? Really? Like, really? I don't know. I've never seen the argument for Yuki outside of Black Hole GG. But Black Hole GG is a double KO. I don't count double KOs as dubs. That's like me double KOing in a fighting game. You don't win, you draw. So like, you know what I'm saying? I've never seen, oh, gosh darn it, I've never seen any sort of justification for Yuki really getting the victory royale on Toji or Maki individually. You're putting both of them up against her? Even if she gets one, because she's going to barely be able to perceive one, the other one's right there, slicing her in half. So the best, if you're slopping Yuki off, giving her some of the juiciest slop ever, making Choso jealous with how much slop you're giving Yuki, she's bisected, and then Star Rate is never hitting the same if she's even still alive. Once again, I'm pretty confident the black hole could just be boop, pop like a bubble, soap bubble. Once again, I'm a little bit of a Maki and Toji meat muncher.
Oh, so first, I already established that both of these characters scale significantly above Yuki's caliber of speed, and when you pair that fact with two weapons that can essentially one-shot her durability, you have a very, very serious problem for Tsukumo. Yuki can technically do the same thing to them back with Star Rage imbued punches, but she has the disadvantage in speed, plus her opponents have precognition, as well as the ability to essentially disappear from her cursed energy senses. Garuda helps Yuki avoid a complete Jujutsu Kaisen session, but it isn't as autonomous of an ally as Maki or Toji respectively, meaning that it's eventually going to be dealt with in some form or fashion. Kenjaku was able to be held down temporarily by Garuda in his fight with Yuki and Choso, but even while his mobility was limited, he was capable of avoiding Choso's piercing blood plus the combined efforts of a fatigued Choso and Yuki. Both characters going up against Yuki now are significantly more competent in a physical fight than Kenjaku, and she doesn't have the benefit of being able to jump them individually, so more than likely whoever is dealing with Garuda will be able to exercise exorcise the curse or at least get rid of it in any meaningful capacity in order to join their other against Yuki. Assuming that she can heal from soul split katana attacks, her punch.
And yeah, that's a big assumption, but to be fair, she wrote the soul book, so I do think there's a pretty solid argument that Yuki has soul perception. They got literally all the soul info from her book. So I'm gonna guess Yuki has perception of her own soul, meaning she should be able to heal soul split, but we know her healing is not that good. It's not as quick as Hakari, as quick as Gojo's, as quick as Sukuna's, and with the speed and rate that they're going to be doing damage to Yuki, she's not gonna be able to heal. And by the time she does, when she lowers her cursed energy amounts or burns or does anything, star rate is worthless. I don't think I need to convince you that Toji and Maki are more durable than Geto, who by proxy is more durable than Kenjaku. So if her hits were doing nothing to his guards, or sometimes I forgot that she got a clean punch on his face. Yeah, she's cooked. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Even if, and the thing is, if she gives up Garuda, that's even worse. Because then she loses her only tool, and she's trying to fight Toji and Maki with her hands. They could legit, like, straight up swing through her fingers. She's going to lose potency and limbs.
After using RCT would become ineffectual enough relative to her previous output, so much so that Toji and Maki would have nothing to worry about. Now, this isn't to say that Yuki without star rage at maximum capacity is super weak, rather that feat-wise, it just isn't enough to argue that it's blowing through Toji and Maki's durability in the way that I would be able to before. Now, while I already established that both physically gifted warriors are faster than her, even if you do make the case that she's going to land hits on them, at least somewhat, it would only be after a technique is halted by the inverted spear of heaven, or sustaining damage from some other cursed tool that would lower her own cursed energy output. Her domain expansion also doesn't work as a trump card here because her opponent can simply choose to ignore it if need be. In fact, if Yuki does have her domain open at any point in this fight, only to have the barrier shattered, her chances of winning sink even further due to cursed technique burnout. While I think that Maki and Toji would have to be careful to not get hit early on in the battle, the fact that Yuki would primarily confront them on turf that they have the explicit advantage on means that they would secure a win with relative ease. Now, Geto wasn't happy about getting his ass kicked by Toji again, so his body gets to run back here with Kenjaku piloting the ship. And while Kenny is unambiguously stronger than Geto due to his extra curse techniques, RCT, and domain expansion, the result of the battle is strikingly similar to what I described before. The amount of cursed spirits that he has in his possession is ambiguous, but even assuming that he has the same quantity that Geto had with a few more notable special grades like the Ganesha curse spirit, Toji's ability to cancel techniques like that out via the spear makes it a rather moot point. RCT would allow Kenjaku to prolong this battle more than Geto, but up against two people physically superior to him with one-shot curse tools, all this would be doing is extending his beatdown. The domain expansion also wouldn't work on them just due to it not targeting inanimate objects like Sukuna's, leaving gravity.
That's the big thing. And he's about to bring it. It's only gravity. I didn't even think he was going to include Kenny, but then again, he's including Sukuna, so I guess I should have expected him to include Kenny. But the thing about Kenny, right? His main win cons are curse spirit manipulation and gravity. Gravity can be turned off by inverted spear, presumably, unless you go with the anime's interpretation, where maybe that's a bit more questionable. And domain wouldn't work because unlike Sukuna's, it's never specified to have a secondary effect. Remember, it's not just open barrier domains that deal with Maki and Toji. It's specifically Sukuna's and only Sukuna's that deals with people like Maki and Toji, because dismantle targets inanimate objects. Kenny's domain is never implied to do that, meaning the domain, while open barriered, would just be useless. And then it's entirely possible that he wouldn't be able to switch techniques like he does outside of a domain. So if he opens it, then he locks off gravity, meaning he'll never be able to shut down Maki. Toji would be able to keep fighting regardless, but he would never be able to shut down Maki, and then they both gank him to oblivion. And they also still just both speed blitz him. It's why, heck, Yuta himself even thinks, I'll be real, Maki-chan probably could have handled Kenjaku the exact same way I did. Only thing is, she wouldn't be able to deal with the millions of cursed spirits as easily as I could with Rika. That was it. And even then, I think that's debatable. But once again, that's the Maki beat.
He has his last and most effective secondary option. I think it's fair to assume that the technique would be effective on the two despite their physical strength, but Yuki viewed the regen intervals as very exploitable even with her reaction times and strength. So with extra speed, extra hands, and precognition, I don't see either of these two being unable to exploit this weakness, especially if they...
And another thing is, with the gravity in particular, we know it's not out of Maki and or Toji's wheelhouses to react to imperceptible forces, like gravity. They react to Sukuna slashes, or things like air movements. So they'd probably be able to tell when Kenjaku's about to use gravity, and considering it's only in a 6-meter radius, they probably charge in, wait for him to do it, back out, and then the moment he stops doing it is in that cooldown period, charge in again.
Or tag teaming with maximum efficiency. I'd certainly say that this is their hardest battle to date, but Toji and Maki would still be able to seal the deal in the end. The prodigious young special grade is up next, and much like the characters I've put Maki and Toji up against before, Yuta is going to have a really hard time facing up against these two in a physical confrontation, meaning that he's going to have to rely very much so on his hacks and variety of abilities. While he isn't a slouch in the physical department, his best feats are based on him cooking Yuji, going blow for blow with Ishigori up close, and kinda blitzing Kenjaku depending on your interpretation of this scene. Regardless, Yuta still doesn't want to be dealing with Toji and Maki up close with no backup, and
like I thought, production-wise, this takes place even before Yuta's fight. I figured. I figured it took place early, because it's a month ago. But, and who knows, it may be even like further than a month ago. YouTube says it's a month ago, but that may be like 2 months ago. So yeah, I figured that wouldn't be. You throw Sukuna feats in there and it gets a little bit more weird, but with the dismantle scaling, if you assume all dismantles are uniform, Maki and Toji would still be faster through Maki being able to react to dismantles and world slashes, which all should have the same speed. Meanwhile, Yuta can only react to one. Then you run into the same issue again. Massive speed gap, Soul Split Katana. Yuta likely doesn't have soul perception like Yuji does. Bada bing, bada boom, they wash together. One-on-one, it gets a bit more questionable because of the utilization of cursed speech, plus Rika not being forced to deal with a whole nother person. I think I can see the arguments for Yuta. Depends on if you think they resist cursed speech or not. Or if you think they can react to it. I think they can react to it and just avoid it, and worst comes to worst, 5 minutes isn't that long of a time. You just wait. But, if not, oh well. And the thing is, with domain expansion, once again, worthless. It wouldn't target them. Yuta, while very effective, has not shown the ability to target people without cursed energy. So yeah. He'd be in danger against both of them. They'd probably flat out cook, bro. I'm gonna be completely honest. Together.
This is where Rika comes in. Even when only partially manifested, it is clear that Rika is very powerful, completely immobilizing Yuji while not taking the whole situation seriously, but this isn't enough for someone with a complete heavenly restriction. If Yuta's smart, he'll unleash every bit of his power pretty early on and try to split Toji and Maki up so that he can deal with them individually. Unlike Garuda, I do think that Rika has enough autonomy and strength to at least provide Yuta with some time to breathe and recoup, but with either Toji or Maki right up on him, things don't look good regardless. Cursed speech would be essential in Okkotsu keeping them at bay, and sky manipulation might just be the ability he needs when going up against opponents who like to keep things close, but even those two curse techniques would only work as a stopgap to keep Okkotsu alive a little bit longer. With no domain expansion on the table, Yuta wouldn't be able to take control of the area, resulting in him being pressured for the entirety of his 5-minute timer. I do think that through hit and run tactics, his multitude of curse techniques, massive well of cursed energy and RCT, Yuta would be able to survive against both of them for 5 minutes, but he wouldn't be able to do much more against them than this, and once that...
And that's the big issue, right? Say you have Rika, in this scenario specifically, once again, I'll make my own video talking about Toji and or Maki against Yuta in a 1v1, but very specifically in this kind of scenario, where both of them are jumping him, you run into the question of, okay, Yuta, very powerful, very fast. He needs to sacrifice Rika to deal with one of them. Now, do you think Rika's smart enough to beat Maki or Toji in combat? I don't think so. I really don't. And then do you think Yuta on his own is enough to beat Maki or Toji in combat? I don't think so. I think the speed gap, plus their knowledge of his abilities, or ability to react to his abilities with their precog, means that Yuta, once again, like Ronin, he'd end up stalling very well. But the thing is, once they start landing hits on bro, once that soul split kicks in, without his confirmation of soul perception, those hits aren't healing. They simply aren't. That RCT is going to be a waste. And his potency may likely drop. And they're just going to keep nicking him, until that 5 minutes is up, then manifested Rika, woo! And then it's Maki and Toji bullying base Yuta. He says Yuta needs to go full power early into the fight. Yuta needs to start the fight at full power. I don't think I need to convince you that base Yuta gets dogged by Maki and
timer
Toji
is up, his cursed energy reserves go down, and his techniques are restricted once more. It'll only be a matter of time before Yuta gets sliced and diced. And as a little bit of a bonus round before moving on to the strongest sorcerers alive, Kinji Hakari stands. I know that in terms of official
he washes them, is what I would say if I was a Hakari fan, but unfortunately you know who I am. Yeah, they wash Hakari. He literally can't even get jackpot against them. You would have to start him in jackpot. Then they stall him for 4 minutes 11 seconds as he pillow punches them. Then he tries to get jackpot again and he can't. Hakari's horrid. Hakari. Yeah, Hakari, no. No, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
Thinking he doesn't hold the special grade title, but the story pretty consistently compares Okkotsu and Hakari, and Yuta has even said that Hakari is stronger than him when worked up, so in terms of power, he isn't a crazy person to put on the list. Now, when it comes to Kinji, he's very similar to Okkotsu in the sense that his base form gets obliterated by these two. His best feat in base is beating up on a Yuji who was resolved not to fight back, but even if you were to say that he's vaguely stronger than this version of Itadori, it wouldn't be enough to go up against these two monsters. It's primarily through his domain expansion that Hakari becomes the powerhouse that he's hyped up to be, and while I'll talk about Jackpot Hakari against those two in a second, I actually first wanted to address the possibility of him actually landing his jackpot technique against Toji and Maki. The reason I doubt the efficacy of idle death gamble in this specific scenario is simply due to the nature of rule-based domain expansions and how they interact with heavenly restriction types. In chapter 164, it is made clear by Tengen that rule-based domains take effect by having their sure hit technique force the opponent to abide by a set of rules and regulations. However, the binding vow is that these rules must be explained in full in order for the barriers technique to take effect. Higuruma typically does this verbally, but due to the complexity of the rules and the sheer amount of them, Kari's domain injects the information into his opponent as a part of its sure hit ability, fulfilling the binding vow and starting the round simultaneously, which is likely part of the reason his domain is able to open so quickly. The problem when facing Toji and Maki though is that they can't be targeted by sure hit techniques, at least not Hakari's, which means that the domain's effect will be inert due to the lack of explanation. Now, Hakari could technically just verbally explain the rules to them, but not only would he likely not immediately detect what's going on, but due to the verbose nature of idle death gamble, he'd have a lot of explaining to do before he can start rolling. And as I established before, Hakari in base isn't even worth discussing when talking about fighting Toji and Maki individually, much less them working together as a dynamic duo. This is all well and good, but it's not what the people want to see when discussing Hakari versus really anybody. So even assuming that Hakari does land a jackpot, it's tough to say that he does all that well. In my opinion, the overall outcome doesn't change that much. Don't get me wrong, he performs significantly better against them in this form, and I even think that they'd struggle to kill him due to the speed of his healing, but Hakari just doesn't have anything in his arsenal capable of ending Toji and Maki, and on top of this, he'd also be in danger of having his technique stopped by the inverted Spear of Heaven. Assuming he isn't defeated within those 4 minutes and 11 seconds though, Hakari just gets trounced the moment he's killable once again. Assuming Hakari never gets on a roll, Toji and Maki negative diff him. If he is able to land a jackpot, then they mid-diff him. Unfortunately, Toji and Maki's next opponent won't be going down so easily. In fact, Gojo Satoru is probably going to be the last thing either of these characters ever see. These physically gifted warriors do have the benefit of wielding the inverted Spear of Heaven, meaning
they wash him. I mean, he gets washed. I mean, look at me. It's the Glazer in me fighting back. Now, Gojo washes them. Once again, like I mentioned, they are literally stat checks. If you have better speed, they lose. We see this even as recent as 253. Sukuna stat checked Maki, and she failed the stat check. It's like playing D&D. If you get a bad roll, you got a bad roll. Toji and Maki got bad rolls against Sukuna and Gojo. They outspeed and one-shot them. Whether it be with purple in Gojo's case, or in Sukuna's case, literally anything that he lands. Well, actually, nah, full output Sukuna, yeah, most likely anything that he lands. It may take a little bit longer for Sukuna, because, like, he'd have to use, like, Fire Arrow, or, like, a full power, up-close cleave, maybe, or, like, a full-strength, close-range dismantle. But, yeah, they wash.
They can get past infinity if need be, and they are also immune to Gojo's domain expansion, which is good because in most versus battles, that's usually an instant win in his favor. What's not so good is the fact that Gojo beats these two in just about everything else besides that. In terms of speed, Gojo is far beyond Naobito's capabilities, meaning that Toji and Maki scaling above Naobito as well is a moot point. In hidden inventory, Gojo was able to dodge Toji's attacks up close completely, and while Toji was considered rusty himself and mentally nerfed due to his own internal conflict, Gojo at at this stage of his life is much weaker than the sorcerer they are facing today. Even if you were to lowball the hell out of Gojo and say that he's relative to both characters in physical speed, his teleportation would make all the difference in how that speed is specifically utilized. Strength-wise, Gojo definitely should be able to deal out some crazy damage to them as well, especially when you consider the fact that casual punches from him when enhancing his attacks with blue makes Yuta and Hakari vomit. He's also strong enough for Arame to feel the pain of his attacks an entire month after the hit, and Sukuna can be damaged by these blows pretty extensively himself. Spawning multiple blue points on their limbs to mangle them, Curse Technique Reversal Red and Hollow Purple are also within Satoru's arsenal, allowing him to neutralize the threat of these two up close or at range if he deems it necessary. Maki and Toji are strong, but as of right now, they aren't strong enough to beat the most powerful sorcerer of the modern day. This goes double.
The only goon argument you can make is that Maki dodge World Slash, Gojo no dodge World Slash. That's it. And that's, once again, I call it a meme argument. I call it a meme argument because we know it's not the case. We know Maki nor Toji are faster than Gojo. That's like the whole point. I'm sorry. No matter how much slop I could hypothetically give. Well, all dismantles are uniform. World Slash should be uniform in terms of speed. Gojo didn't dodge it, but Maki and Toji did. Gojo probably just assumed it wouldn't do anything, if he could even perceive it. You could argue he couldn't. Maki and Toji cheat with their perception. Remember that. I love them for that, but they cheat. Gojo doesn't cheat. He just has really good eyes. He's faster than both of them. He one-taps both of them. Same thing with Sukuna. Unfortunately, once full output, full speed Sukuna, who's taking them remotely seriously, hits them both with a dismantle at close range, and they both get sliced in half. It's unfort. It's unfort. I say this, and I know people are going to be like, oh, Pencil, you can't say this, but I'm going to say it. Why do you think Maki has only fought Sukuna when he's weakened? When his curse technique output is trash. Why do you think? It was 15-finger nerf Sukuna, and it's current nerf Sukuna now. And guess what? She lost in both of those encounters.
For Sukuna, who has all of the physical scaling that Gojo does, plus world-splitting dismantles, plus attacks that adjust to durability, plus general invisible slashes, plus a fire arrow to go along with it. Sukuna in his shrewd...
Notably, all of those things can presumably be dodged, unless you think fire arrow is faster than cleaving dismantle. But we know they can perceive all that. It don't matter though because of the stat gap. Once again, it's all about the stat check. If you can stat check Toji and Maki, you win. It's just
form even has the extra limbs to deal with Toji and Maki jumping him at close range. If that wasn't enough, things go from bad to worse when you remember that Sukuna has a domain capable of targeting inanimate objects like Toji and Maki, and thus Malevolent Shrine can take them off the board. If the two were somehow durable enough to survive that entire onslaught, one fire arrow in the midst of the domain sure hit attacks would be on speed dial to end the fight in a blaze of glory. These two characters make their way through a majority of the special grade level combatants talked about in today's video, but unsurprisingly, the strongest sorcerer in history and the strongest sorcerer of the modern era are enough to stop them in their tracks. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more gauntlet style content like it, check out this one where I pit Yuji and Toto against every special grade cursed spirit. Subscribe for more content like this, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.
W video. And I will be reacting to that one too, eventually. You know I will. you know I will. But overall, yeah, I agree with everything Broken Ronin said. Not a single lie was stated. It's a massive unfort for like a majority of the verse, except for the two gods. Against this duo in particular. It'd just be like that, wouldn't be like that, especially when it'd be like that. Honestly, there my goes for a reason. But with that being the case, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave Heavenly Duo in the comment section down below. And thank you so much for watching. Remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that little notification so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon below where you can support me for as low as $1 down month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You're going to become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks will include the live reaction to the very next chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen. And now, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That with Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members: Wakanda Plays, Greyhound, Akids Void, Astro, Red Wolf 4765, Eternal Flame, and Teen Mitgao. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $5 patrons: Steron, Sean, Panda Goat, Midnight Lord 21, Metal Solid Crisis, Kevin, Igneel, and EHAC1. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $7 member, Autumn Mornings Lazo. And I'd like to give a big thank you to our $10 member, Jay Warrior. And I'd like to give another thank you to our $10 patrons, Joaquin and Idemo Kame. Along with another juicy thank you to our $25 patron, ChinaDoll09. And I'd like to give a final Giga Gargantuan thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.